when President Tinubu appointed Josh Amupitan, there were a lot of outcry across the country that he should be sacked because he holds views that are antithetical to the unity, prosperity of Nigeria. And he had expressed them openly. But because he was a man on a mission, a man who is sent to destroy Nigeria's democracy, that is the reason why he is playing a script. At least you have heard from Anselm Odinkalu, who said that he has a pre-signed letter of resignation that is stated there that he has resigned from this position. So he was said to have been under pressure to do what he's doing. Now, democracy before the coming of Tinubu had flourished. A lot of opposition parties have been given chance right from 1999. How we started. 3 political parties, AD, PDP, and APP, were the 3 political parties that were registered by the Ephraim Akpata-led INEC. Ephraim Akpata ensured that democracy flourished. In fact, that was the first time that we had the first major coalition between AD and APP, where Olufalaye was the presidential candidate and Umaru Shinkafi of the APP was the vice presidential candidate. We moved from that era to the next, and all the INEC chairmen had improved upon the system up to the period of Jega, who brought in the electronic consideration into and technology, let me say technology into the system. And so far, Nigerians are appreciative of the technology that has been brought in. However, Mahmoud, who was supposed to be the best INEC chairman because he had introduced servers that when you vote, immediately it goes into the server. Now, introduced what is called a glitch, which now marred the presidential election, while other elections were intact. Now, we were thinking that Amupitan, who is from the university system, who has perhaps a golden opportunity to edge his name in gold, will do far better and correct all the ills of Mahmoud Yakubu, being a professor and a senior advocate of Nigeria. But unfortunately, he has already donated himself to be used to destabilize democracy in Nigeria. He has been very, 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 every political party is not happy with him, except, of course, the APC, for whom he is working for. Now, what is even more annoying is the fact that we know you are from the university system. You have never seen a huge amount of money. But this is the first time you are seeing money almost close, nearing trillion for you to conduct, an election that should be free, fair, and credible. But you are using those monies to further destabilize the system. You have introduced voter revalidation. And I don't know from which evidence, whether it is empirical or whether it is merely logical, that he will now conclude that the voter registrar is too high.
Two, like I said in my introduction, two parties, the PDP and the ADC, two decisions, different decisions, but similar, scenarios. PDP are in court. The Turaki-led NWC have gone to the Supreme Court. While the Wike-led PDP had this lavish convention they held, I think last weekend,
Yes.
monitored by the PDP, recognized by the PDP.
By INEC.
By INEC. Now, coming to ADC, the ADC, of course, has David Mark as the chairman, Aregbesola as national secretary, and this is a party, opposition party, the leading, using the words of politicians, the leading opposition party now, the sole one, the only one now that can actually muster some level of opposition to the ruling party. So, as it is being alleged that the APC, the ruling government, is out to destabilize any party that is able to muster some level of opposition. Because that's what happened to the Labour Party, to PDP. And they said, no, it is not true, it is internal. But then we see what is going on now in ADC. Can you explain this? Alhaji, I ask once again, is this a script that is being played out?
Yes, I said, when anybody says it's an internal crisis, there is nothing internal. When somebody has double loyalty, if somebody says, I'm a member of PDP, you are working in an APC government, and you say you stand on somebody's mandate, how can it be internal crisis? It is orchestrated. I have always said that the problem of the PDP is Tinubu, because he even openly admitted it in the National Assembly. He said it gives him great pleasure to see the PDP in disarray. And he said, I'm not going to help you.
That's the president.
Yes, that's the president. The president says, I'm not going to help you. Yes. Now, that statement is very clear. I will put more problem in your party, and I will not help you. And I will make sure that you are dead. Now, do we need any soothsayer or any Paul the Octopussy or anybody to tell us that, it is the voice of Jacob and the hand of Esau? It is Tinubu that is behind our travails. Now look at what Bala Muhammad said recently. Bala said that in trying to reconcile within the PDP, he even met Tinubu 3 times. And that Tinubu was amenable to the reconciliation. But in all this, they said they were going to get back to him. Nobody called him. Nobody got back to him. And Wike called himself. During the reconciliation, Wike said he is the conqueror. According to Bala, he said he's the conqueror. Now, if you are the conqueror, who did you conquer? Perhaps we will say you are the conqueror of the Nigerian judiciary. Because Wike has never won an election on the field. It is always through the judiciary.
Alhaji, with all this gale of controversies, allegations, counter-allegations against INEC, because don't forget, the I, in INEC, stands for independence.
Yes.
Independent national. So INEC as an institution ought to be independent, not only by nomenclature, but obviously, practically. What is the future of democracy concerning INEC's or Professor Josh's ability to superintend over INEC?
Well, I think at the end of the day, we will have the worst INEC chairman that Nigeria has ever produced, because he is being guided on what to do, on how to do them. He is not independent in himself. First, before you adopt a name of independence, you have to be independent in your heart. You have to know that you are there to serve Nigeria and not to serve the interest or loyalty of any person who appointed you. The appointing officer notwithstanding. Jonathan appointed Jega. Jega supervised an election where Jonathan lost. And Jonathan did not say it was Jega that failed him, because he was not expecting Jega to support him. When Jonathan won in 2011, he praised Jega for the reforms in INEC. And when he lost in 2015, he never said that it was deliberate action of Jega that led him to lose the election. Now, the main question is that Tinubu knows that he's not popular in Nigeria and that he cannot win election. On a good day, he can't win election in Nigeria because Nigerians are tired of, not only him, they are tired of APC. Nigerians don't want to hear APC. And they know that. So they are moving against the Nigerian people. They are moving against politicians. They are moving against any political party that has life. Now, look at Labour Party. They have gone to Supreme Court. There is another round of battle again. After the Supreme Court judgment, again, the lady had to go to Federal High Court again before Justice Lifu. Again, they are moving. They have appealed again to Court of Appeal. So it is just a merry-go-round.
Brilliant. I love this point you touched on now because that's actually where I was coming to. Because I listened to Professor Josh this morning on a sister network where he was defending the decision that they took. So, number one issue, Alhaji, he said the Court of Appeal decision was relying on, said the parties to the suits, to whatever litigation, should go back to status quo antebellum, meaning, the condition they were before hostilities or war began. The question is that, could it be the intention of the Court of Appeal that a political party would have no NWC? Could that be the intention of the Court of Appeal?
No. In fact, when it's even
that is one leg. Yeah. The second leg is that when will this litigation end? Because INEC has rolled out timetable, guidelines for party affairs and primaries and all of that.
Litigation will never end, which is what I'm telling you, that we are having a merry-go-round. But let me start by telling you that when the Court of Appeal, I read the judgment.
Yes.
The Court of Appeal said that the Federal High Court should retry the matter again. That they do not have power to try this matter. Yes. Because it's not within their competence. Yes. But meanwhile, they should remain,
as they were,
on status quo antebellum. Now, if they say you should remain as you are, it means the man should remain as the chairman. Adegbeshola should remain as the secretary, and then let the case commence again. Yes. But INEC decided to accord that interpretation, their own interpretation. Because they were serving a particular purpose. George Amupitan should not take Nigerians for fools. We all know what we are doing. And we understand all the game. We understand that Tinubu is afraid of competition.
Alhaji, is it that you are not a layman, we are not lawyers. So maybe because he's not just a lawyer, he's a professor of law, he's not just a professor, he's a senior advocate. Maybe that's why he has...
No, he's an administrative senior advocate. He is not a lawyer that goes to court. He does not have legal experience going into court, arguing cases. He is only a legal draftsman and, who offers consultation and advice. But he doesn't have legal experience going into court. I think it is because the committee, the
Legal Privileges
Committee, yes, that the committee, I would prefer to call them committee, now decided that even academicians,
yes, a few of them,
yes, should be considered for son. Otherwise, he is not supposed to be a son. But again, let us agree that he's a son.
Yes.
Because he is a son. Now, as a senior advocate of Nigeria, does he think that he can outmaneuver all the lawyers in Nigeria as to interpret the law the way he deems fit, not the way it is? It cannot be possible. And it is not for him to interpret the law. If there is any question as to the ambiguity of any law, he is supposed to go back to court.
Absolutely, because I listened to some other lawyers who argued, just like you said now, that if INEC, because I saw this morning how the INEC chair struggled valiantly, cherry-picking dates. He was picking dates that, it cannot be this date, September, it cannot be August, it has to be July. So it was, like you said, even though I'm not, I agree with you entirely, he was more or less choosing the dates he wanted.
Yes.
And that's why I put the question to you, Alhaji, once again. Could the Court of Appeal, by any stretch of the imagination, have envisaged a situation where a political party would not have a management team.
There is no way, there is no vacuum in leadership. You can't create a vacuum in leadership. The whole idea is that Tinubu has said, I've already finished with PDP. Let me go to ADC and finish with them. Since I don't want competition, I want to win by all means. I want to be coronated on the 29th of May, 2027. So let me create problems. Now, this problem he's creating, it cannot go away. There are problems that can go away, but there are problems that can never go away. And these are the ones that can never go away. And when they call Tinubu a master strategist, I sometimes begin to wonder, what type of strategy? Is that the way he has been winning Lagos? Creating problems in Lagos and then manipulating the system? Is that strategy? It leaves me wondering how somebody with that type of mentality can. I thought he, as part of his strategy, he will allow PDP, he will allow ADC, so that two opposing political parties will now bring up candidates that will reduce their votes and then make him win. I thought that would have been his own strategy. But his own strategy is to kill them and kill democracy and ensure that democracy does not exist. And then he has willing tools. Those people who are willing to motivate themselves for the purpose of killing democracy. And one of them is Yesomupe, because he has been given Minister of FCT. And so, because he's now Minister of FCT, he wants to continue to become Minister of FCT. And so, it is better for him to be used to kill PDP. And then they will now use the judiciary to kill the ADC, so that they will not have competition.
The other leg, like I said, I want you to address this before we move on to some other things, is that Professor Josh Amupitan also referred to, because the interviewer asked him that, but why are you taking that decision to interpret? If you are not clear, why don't you go to he said, well, because he doesn't want to be a party to lawlessness, because the case of Zamfara, the case of in Plateau State, even Rosemary Amichi's case in Rivers, then when, the court said, don't do this, but the parties went and conducted, and then the party said, well, the court said, you went and did, something in disobedience to court order, so that it does not want, that whatever ADC does in contravention of court order, it will be nullified, and all of that. Because, like I asked you,
but
there's the real doubt timetable. So if ADC falls there and doing nothing.
That is exactly the point. He is still being the adjudicator in this matter.
Rather than going back to the
court. Rather than going back to the court. He is still the one saying something is wrong. And what we are saying is that he should not be the one that should say something is wrong. If he is quoting those things, if he is quoting what happened in Zamfara, if he is quoting in fact, in Zamfara, it was INEC that stood his ground that there was no primaries in Zamfara. It was not anybody else. It was not the courts. It was INEC that insisted that there was no primaries. And on the basis of that, disqualified the APC candidate. And now, is he, being the INEC chairman, is it his responsibility
to hold brief
for another political party
or for the court?
Because we want him to show neutrality. And because he's not showing neutrality, if something is not clear to you, you go back to where that thing came from and say, please, this thing is not clear. If your teacher in a class gives you an assignment and says, go and do this assignment, and you look at the assignment and it doesn't make sense, you go back to the teacher and say, sir, this assignment, you don't determine that, okay, this is what the teacher means. By the time you work out the answer, you may be working at cross purposes with the intention of the teacher. So what Josh ought to have done was to have gone to the Court of Appeal to say, please clarify this.
Determine for us what is the status quo antebellum that you mean.
Yes. Let us understand what is the status quo antebellum. So that every Nigerian will feel, okay, yes.
It is the court.
It is the court.
Not INEC.
It is not INEC. But now, there is nothing he can say that will convince us that he has not taken sides.
This man is barely in office. I'm not sure it's up to 2 years. He was appointed 2024, if I'm not mistaken.
It's 2025 now.
2025.
Yes.
So barely 1 year or so.
He's not even up to 6 months.
Okay. So now we have all these, and these are very huge controversies because it's bordering on survival of democracy.
Yes.
People having faith and confidence. The third thing I want to ask you is that I had this man also, Professor Josh, talking about the 93 million registered voters that is bogus, that it is inflated, that is not reliable. And that's the reason why they are subjecting it to Nigerians to come and revalidate their voters card and all of those. Like you asked, you mentioned earlier, where did Professor Josh get this? And can this be done in the space between now and...
You see, the question I'm trying to ask is, when somebody passes judgment like this, we're all intellectuals. If you pass judgment that a figure is bogus, you have to justify it.
There must be a reason for it.
There must be justification.
Scientific reason.
Yeah, there must be scientific reason. That, well, we conducted this, or we put consultants to conduct this thing, and they came up with this. Not for you to just sit down in a radio station or a television station and conclude. Now, what he doesn't understand, and I will let him know, is that if you observe Buhari's election, when Buhari was contesting, a lot of people registered to vote, and the votes were counted. Buhari was getting 12 million votes regularly. Immediately Buhari said, I'm not going to contest. Most of the voters want their permanent voter register card. They want it. They didn't come out to vote. And some people choose, they cherry pick which election they want to go and vote for. And mostly it's the presidential election that interests Nigerians, not governorship or House or Assembly. They want to select a good president. So for him to say that because 600,000, voter apathy is there. People don't believe that your vote will count. Quite a lot of Nigerians don't believe that if I go to vote, my vote will count. That is not to say that you don't have a voter's card or you are not a registered voter. But because people believe the voters will not count, my vote will not count. So for him to sit down in his office and to conclude for Nigerians, I think that is very wrong of him.
Last of this one is that with all these controversies, recognizing the factional PDP convention results, recognizing it, but then you come to ADC, you freeze out the NWC, freeze them out completely. Do you recognize them? Throw a spanner into their wheels, as it were, knowing that they have activities lined up that may catch up with them not being able to field any candidates. There is an election in Ondo State, election in Osun State coming up, and a few other places. Is this man, Professor Josh Amupitan, do you personally still have any confidence in him, in his ability to be INEC, an impartial INEC chairman?
You see, number one, I do not know what yardstick was used to appoint him. Because prior to his appointment, he was not a well-known Nigerian. Where he comes from, nobody, even those people don't know him much. Perhaps, maybe because of his academic attainments, his local areas may know him. But he was not even a well-known person. So we cannot even judge his own temperaments, his actions, how he addresses issues. And he has never held any position that will give us that sense that this man exactly knows what he's doing. So he was a choice of only the president. The president knows him, understands him, and knows he can intimidate him, because he will give him a responsibility that is greater than him and ask him to perform wonders. And the man is ready to be sacrificed because he believes in Tinubu. He believes he was part of his legal draftsman or legal team or something. So he is ready to do anything for Mr. President. But that is not loyalty. Loyalty is to the country. And Tinubu's trying to force himself on Nigerians, I don't think it will end well. Because you can't force yourself. You came in through the ballot. You have to compete. You have a 4-year tenure, which expires next year. You have to compete if you want to go back. And because you are afraid of that competition, because you know that Nigerians don't like you. I can assure you, go to any part of the country, you will understand that Tinubu is not loved by Nigerians. Forget about the fact that he is gathering governors. Even the governors are going there because of their survival. They are not going there because of him. They are going there because they want to survive. And so, he knows that where the votes are is with the masses. And how can he reduce the votes? It is to create revelation. He does not believe that Konkoso makes up to 1 million votes in Kano. He does not. So, he is telling Amupitan, do this. And then, all these problems are coming after INEC has already. The reason why INEC, even when Nigerians cried that they should not put election during fasting, instead of him to move it forward, he moved it backward, so that their agenda will now be played so fast as to disenfranchise quite a lot of people. It's a strategy intended to frustrate elections in Nigeria.
This is very scary, Alhaji. Now, coming to PDP, your party, the Turakiled NWC that contains governors, senators, House of Rep members, I mean, the bulk of the party that actually contested against the president in 2023 election.
Yes.
They've been frozen out, more or less. The PDP headquarters is under lock and key by court order and all of those, you know. But then, the faction of the PDP that worked for the emergence of President Tinubu are the ones now in charge of the PDP. Do you call this democracy or hostile takeover, like we call it in business?
Okay, let me tell you something. Now, Wike has already made his position known long ago, that he stands on the mandate of Tinubu. That is why he's the only minister that is not in the TSA. So he's the one that is allowed to spend money anyhow. He is the only minister that is greater than the Minister of Information, because he has created for himself a media chat, which he does every month. And in that media chat, he is abusing any Nigerian that is opposed to Tinubu. Any Nigerian. He has no respect for any Nigerian except Tinubu. So, Tinubu is happy with it, because whatever you will do for him in his own interest, whether it is against the collective interest of Nigeria, it doesn't concern him. It is his own interest first, then maybe, in fact, I don't think he has any interest of Nigeria at heart. Don't forget that Tinubu said, he does not believe in one Nigeria. So if you don't believe in one Nigeria and you are now the president of Nigeria, and you are showing signs that you actually don't believe in one Nigeria, how can Nigeria be one entity with you? You are trying to destabilize the country. You are trying to divide the country. And the people that are working with Wiki are desperate politicians. Some of them were given SUVs, 4-4. Some of them were given huge amounts of money. Some of them are desperate. They have gone to negotiate that they want to win their state. Please, they should allow them to win their state. And they are ready to do anything, because they have been out of power for some time. So most of them you see there, they are not real PDP at heart people. They are people who are fighting for their own selfish and personal interest, and not for the interest of the party. Because those who are working for the interest of the party are the ones that are on the other side. In fact, it is better for me to hear that somebody has gone to APC than for me to hear that somebody has gone to Wiki faction. Because it's the same thing, but these ones are betrayers. At least this one you have gone on your own volition, but you are going into a team of betrayers of their own political party.
During the convention, the factional convention organized by Nyesom Wike, publicly, he said the PDP has now been returned to the rightful owners. He said it, that the PDP has now been returned to the rightful owners of the party. And I was trying to see if I would see Atiku there. Atiku was part of the G34.
Who is the rightful owner?
Hold on, Alhaji. Or I will see former Minister for Information, Prof. Jerry Ghana. because I think those are just a handful that are still alive, you know. But I didn't see. So I just saw a motley crowd of, you know, people you referred to earlier with him. So the questions are, who are the real owners of the PDP? If Nyesom Wike is claiming that, are the real owners not Nigerians? Because PDP is being ascribed, it's been called the legacy party.
Let me tell you this.
Who are the real owners of the
Let me tell you this. The G34 are the real owners. And members of
Is
the...
Wike a part of the G34?
Wike was, when G34 was formed, Wike I think he was in the motor park in
No, that would not be kind.
Why would not,
That would not be kind.
Okay, let me put it this way.
Yes.
As at the time G34 was formed,
1998.
yeah, Wike was thinking of becoming a local government chairman.
Yes, exactly.
He was thinking of becoming a local government chairman.
Exactly.
So he does not even know members of the G34. In fact, he was not even popular within his Port Harcourt municipality. He was struggling with John Mbata, who was trying to make him local government chairman, who was talking to Peter Odili and the rest, that they should allow him to become local government chairman. How can you, because you have been spending money?
Yes.
The money you have been spending, is it for the progress of the party or for your pursuit of your personal interest within the party? He was giving money to Damago and the rest. When you are giving money to individuals, that's not the party. Let us check the party account and see how much Wike has put in for the progress of the party. How much? No. Anybody who is going to work for him and work in the pursuit of his own interest, that is the one Wike will pay. And so, how can he be a rightful owner of the political party? Jonathan didn't say he's the owner of the party. Exactly. Who has been a president of Nigeria. Sure. Atiku did not say he's the owner of the party. Obasanjo. Who has been a vice president of Nigeria. Obasanjo, who was not even a member of the G34 and became president, never said he's the owner of the party. How can Wike now say that he is the rightful owner of the party? In fact, the PDP is the brainchild of IBB. IBB sold the dummy to Abdul Salam and they formed the PDP.
You know this for a fact?
Yes. In fact, IBB used to say that they are PDP and that they are the military wing of the PDP. Now he's a retired gentleman. I'm not sure that IBB will now identify himself with politics. But as a statesman that he is, I'm sure he's not happy with what is happening within the PDP. You know, when you are a foundation member yes. of a political party yes. and the party is going astray, I'm sure you are not going to be happy. Mm. And I think IBB will never be happy with what is going on in the party. And we visited him. We visited him with Tony Muturaki, and he was not happy with what is going on. In fact, he complained about the fight in the secretariat. He was not happy. So, just for you to know that our leaders, who are the real owners of the party, then General Gusau and the rest, who are the real owners of the party, are not even claiming ownership of the party. Then, because you are standing on the mandate of Tinubu, you want to claim ownership of the political party. And you are saying, because you are able to manipulate a judge in Ibadan to include something which is not in our constitution, to recognize a caretaker committee. Our constitution has never envisaged, and we have never done a caretaker committee in the national listen. It's an internal arrangement. If there is peace, you can do caretaker committee. But if there is no peace, you can't do caretaker committee because it's unconstitutional.
Alhaji Umar, yeah, you've been very passionate. If you were advising, you were a special advisor to Namadi Sambu, if you are advising Atiku Abubakar, Rotimi Amechi, Bala Mohammed, Governor of Bauchi, Seyi Makinde, Governor of Oyo State, Tanimu Turaki, you know, and all these other people, both in ADC and the Turaki-led PDP, if you are advising them, if you have their ears, what would you be telling them? Should they just cut their losses and move on, or rise up like men and fight? Because you said something very profound here. What would you tell them, please?
Well, you see, what is good for the goose, as the saying goes, is also good for the gander. In 2015, they did occupy Nigeria.
Yes.
They occupied places, they did protests, and so forth and so on. I think we should leave political party interests. We should leave any mundane interest. We have to save democracy. And the only way we can save democracy is we must occupy Nigeria. The only language Tinubu understands is that's what he has used. So we have to use what he has used to occupy the country. Let us see how they will conduct election. And let us see whether he will violate the constitution. Nobody is afraid to die now, because we have reached the zenith. We have reached the zenith. We cannot take such an insolence in the management of our democratic system. The judiciary, from Federal High Court to Court of Appeal, have been compromised. You cannot get justice. You can only get judgment. We are no longer, anytime the judiciary delivers judgment, a lot of people will say, that is what is expected. They will try to justify it, but Nigerians are not fools. You can't justify anything. We know what we know. And even if we are not lawyers, the law recognizes us as reasonable people. And the law even went further to say that where a reasonable person says this, then that is how it is. So the law even recognizes reasonable people, and we are reasonable people. We will not allow ourselves to be mortgaged. Democracy must exist, competition must exist, and a winner must emerge through competition. We are not calling for any military interruption. We don't want the military to come in. We want the democratic space to be allowed to function the way a democracy is. The way they came in,
yes,
through democracy, they were allowed every space. They cannot strangulate our democratic system because they want to achieve their own personal interests.